Good morning to you. While Umalusi is expected in the next couple of minutes to give us an extensive brief on the decisions taken and how they arrived at the decision to approve the National Senior Certificate results for the class of 2014. Now, of course, those results out, the bulk of those results out on the 5th of January 2015, that is next week. The IEB results out tomorrow. Now, with us to discuss the process embarked on is Dr Mafu Rakometsi, and he is the CEO of Umalusi. Dr. Rakometsi, thank you for joining us. Just take us through the decisions taken and how you came to the decision to approve the results.
The approval of the results takes place after following a number of processes. The processes start at the point when the papers are set. We set the papers through the different assessment bodies. They are internally moderated by the different assessment bodies. And then they are brought to Umalusi's external moderators who look at them for compliance. Once the papers comply with the subject assessment guidelines, with the curriculum and assessment policy statement, they get the Umalusi stamp of approval. We then get into the process of the writing of the examinations. We send our monitors out to go and check that the examinations are written according to policy. We go beyond that, we go to the marking process. We also check that marking is taking place according to the prescribed policies. Further, we do the verification of marking. And all that will inform Umalusi whether to approve the results or not, if policy has been followed every step of the way. Beyond the marking, the marks are captured on the computer system. We then have reports prepared on how marking went, how the learners experienced the papers, and we also get the results on the table to show the trends of this year compared to the trends of the past 5 years. And then we get into the standardization process.
Now that is a very important process, because some might entails.
What standardization means is that, like I've indicated, we receive qualitative reports from the experts to see how the learners of 2014 have experienced individual papers. We then look at the figures, the quantitative report, to check the trends of the past 5 years, which will be our norm, and how the learners are passing this year. And on the basis of that, we are able to say, with the qualitative reports that we get from the experts and the quantitative reports that we get, the paper was fair. In instances where the paper is fair, we keep the raw marks of the learners as it is, because there are no reasons to say the paper was not fair to the learners or it was unfair to the learners. Once that is done, we also go into an exercise of checking whether some papers might have been difficult. In instances where the papers might have been difficult and they are checked against the norm of the past 5 years, and the experts also say the papers were difficult, we adjust the marks upwards. Now, what that means is that we want to ensure that the learners of 2014 are not advantaged or disadvantaged by the year in which they were born, so that the results of 2014 compare favorably with the results of all these past years, so that a level at which a learner passes this year should be comparable with the pass that the learner obtained last year. What this means is that when universities get a learner who has passed mathematics, for instance, with distinctions, they should be able to say that this distinction rate of this year is comparable to the distinction rate of last year. If a learner passes at a particular level, they should be able to say this is what he knows according to the competencies that we know learners should have once they pass at that level. So
now you spoke about maths in particular. Right? Particular difficult subject for South African learners. Of the marks.
Look, mathematics will always be a topical issue because we want mathematicians in order to turn our economy around. What we have observed this year in terms of the trends is that with the introduction of the CAPS curriculum and assessment policy statement of Minister Angie Motshekga, there was new content that was included in the syllabus. And that content could be challenging to some learners because it is introduced for the first time, and I'll indicate which content that is. It is geometry and it is statistics. What that means is that in some instances you might have found that the teachers were not ready, they were not prepared for the new content, they were not properly trained, but I want to actually submit that the Department of Basic Education did very well in this instance in terms of the preparation of their teachers for this new content. Because what we have observed is something that is normal. The learners have not failed mathematics in big numbers, they have passed as usual. So that with mathematics then we did not have to do a lot of adjustments, because even with the inclusion of the new content, the learner.
Dr Mafu Rakometsi there, giving us a rundown of the process that Umalusi has embarked on in terms of approving the results for 2014. Their press briefing kicks off at 11 o'clock, and we will be bringing that to you live.